Welcome back to the Bounce Factory 2 Quick Start videos. In this video, I'm going to run you through all of these commands that are available on the main page of the Bounce Factory app. So the first one, rename, it's pretty obvious. You can just select any mix pass and you can say rename. And what it will do is it will change the bounce name and therefore the file name when you go ahead and bounce this mix pass. This is basically the same as if we did an edit like we did in a previous quick start video, but without opening up the entire dialog. It's just another way to do it. The next one is edit, which you get to by double clicking on a mix pass, or if you've got multiple selected, you need to use this edit button. And this brings you to the bounce dialog where you can change settings for any selection of the mix passes you have already made. Now, one thing I didn't mention in the other video is that you'll see for this particular set of mix passes, the only time we see multiple is the file name. And that's because every mix pass has its own name, but all of the other settings are exactly the same. If you remember, we set the main mix to be 32 bits. So if I select these two and hit edit, you'll see that the bit depth is multiple. And if I click on this, it's going to give me a warning that will say, hey, if you do this, you're going to change both of these mix passes to whatever you set this to. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel, which will leave them with their own settings, but I could decide that they both need to go into a different folder or something like that. The next function is duplicate. The duplicate function on its own could be used to generate some mix passes. Like, let's say if we go back in here and we look at our acapella mix, let's say we did want to have two separate acapellas. We wanted a lead acapella and a background acapella. Right now, if we look at this, we're soloing the lead and the background. Well, that's not going to be what we want. So what I can do is I can take the acapella mix, I can duplicate it, I'm going to give it a name here instead of dupe. Let's say that it is now going to be the lead, and I will remove the background VCA from being soloed. Are you sure I want to disable it? Yes, I do. And say duplicate. And we'll put it into a new snapshot. So we're going to call this the new acapella, right? And now you can see if we come in here, we have two snapshots, one which has our original 11 and one which has our new acapella. But what we can do is come in here and go to our original acapella, and we can now call this our background acapella, and we can take the lead vocal out. Thank you very much. Save edit. And now we've generated two separate acapella mixes without having to go back through the process of taking the snapshot. Now, the thing that makes duplicate very powerful is, let's do this. Let's go to Even Better Song, which is the snapshot we made by loading the mix passes in a previous video from our first snapshot. So we set up all of our 11 mix passes with one click of a button and just did a batch rename on the file name. Now what I want to do is go about that a different way for a different session. So I've finished mixing another session, and I know that the mix passes have to be identical. So I've selected the entire snapshot with all 11 mix passes, and let's go ahead and duplicate it. The first thing it's going to tell me is I probably want to rename this because otherwise I have identical names for the mix passes. Bounce Factory will take care of that. It fixes naming conflicts along the way, so you don't have to worry about it. But in this case, what I want to do is I actually want to bounce a completely different song using the setup because I know it's identical. So I'm going to say OK. It'll bring up our batch rename. And I happen to know that the song I want to bounce is not Even Better Song. It is Incredibly Great Song. So everywhere that we have Even Better, I am going to say I would like to make that Incredibly Great. So Even Better Song Main Mix becomes Incredibly Great Song Main Mix. That's just an example. All 11 of them will be renamed. And everything else about this is absolutely fine. I want them to go into the session folder under Bounce Files, so I'll say duplicate. Excellent. So Incredibly Great Song Main Mixes. That's perfect. Now, if we look at Best Song Ever, we have the mix passes that we made here. If we go back and look at Even Better Song, we now have two snapshots, one of which is for Even Better Song, but this snapshot here is actually for a different session. In conjunction with duplicate, I can use reassign, which will take the snapshots that I've been editing or any snapshot that I've already taken and reassign it to a different session. you get a warning that basically says you need to know what you're doing because Bounce Factory doesn't have the session available to it to see if all of the tracks exist, etc., etc. So yes, I absolutely want to continue, and I'm going to select my incredibly great song session and choose, and now that's it. I'm back up here. I now have 3 sessions worth of snapshots, and here is Incredibly Great Song with a snapshot that has 11 mix passes. It's that simple. Now, another reason you might want to do this is, let's say you printed everything for an Incredibly Great Song, and then they had changes. I know that never happens in the real world. As soon as you print, the song is done forever. But let's just say, hypothetically, that happened. What you probably did was save a copy of the session with a slightly different name. You would just select this snapshot, you would say reassign, you would choose your Incredibly Great Song recall session, point it to that, start printing. So there is very little chance that you would have to redundantly make snapshots that either follow a template or because someone has updated the session since you actually made the snapshots. So what you could do if you're waiting on approval is to go ahead, set up all your mix passes, and then once you have your final mixes ready to go, the next 4 functions are all pretty straight ahead, and they're just dealing with the snapshots that are loaded into the app. So delete, pretty self-explanatory. You can select anything. You can multi-select. You can use command to select just like any other list. You can be granular and go down into the mix passes and select things, and then delete. You can delete also very quickly if you've bounced everything and you're completely finished with that project. Delete all, clear everything out of the app. But before you do, you might want to do an export. So what that will do is it will save all of the mix passes that are currently in the app to a file on your disk. That's great if you have to do a recall 5 months from now, and it turns out that means you have to reprint some of your stems and you need to reprint the instrumental mix as well as the full mix. Then the best thing you can do is have those mix passes saved to the session folder, load them up, and then you can just select the ones you want to bounce, say bounce selected, point it to the new session, and you're done. So import and export, which will allow you to save what is in the app to disk or load something that you saved earlier back into the app. And you don't have to load it into an empty app. You could be saving session by session individually and then load them all up, and it will put them all into the app at the same time, and then you can bounce them all. The only other thing I want to mention is the group list checkbox. All this does is you could have a flat list, which is every single mix pass that's in the app. Sometimes that's great when you don't have that many, but sometimes it's very hard to navigate. So click on group list, and then as you've seen before, it will organize by session, and then within that by snapshot, and then when you go inside of a snapshot, it will show you all of the mix passes. So it's just a hierarchical way to look at what you have in the app. You can also search if you want. So if we ungroup the list, you can see everything. And let's find everything for best song ever. Just type best, here we go. So I could go through these and select them, bounce, do whatever I need to do. So it's very easy to navigate even a huge number of mix passes that are living in the app.